So, hey, everybody, welcome to the EthnoCO Podcast. So, the year is 1392, 100 years before the Europeans arrive in the New World. And you and your friends, you're about 14, 15, 16, you and your friends, you're hanging out in a coastal area on the Atlantic seaboard. You guys are hanging out and talking. There's been food prepared, and about 10 feet away from you is a pot, a ceramic pot that is boiling. In this pot is a black, syrupy substance that has been made from a very special and very important plant, probably one of the most important plants in the Americas in the ancient past. Now, almost nobody knows about it, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, you and your friends when the sort of the ritual, the ceremony, the festival begins, you and your friends drink the black drink, and we're going to talk about this book as well. This is the black drink. You and your friends drink this black drink, and then you vomit profusely. And the guy that can kind of vomit the furthest and drink the most, he's like the big tough man. So we're talking about Yapon Holly and the Ilex genus today, and we have with us here Matt, which has done some interesting work recently with the Ilex genus. Hi Matt, what's up, man?
Hello, Scott. I took a stroll at your behest and I found a
Thanks.
plant, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, so me and Matt, so this is sort of this is like our notes. We may publish this, we might not, but me and Matt have a file that we're both looking at. Um, Sort of there's three very important plants in the Ilex genus. They're all important, of course, but there's three that are really, really special. And those three would be Ilex gayusa or Wayusa, Ilex paraguarensis, which many people would know as yerba mate, and then Ilex vomitoria, which is what was described just a minute ago. And that's what Matt actually found in Chiapas, Mexico.
And
So,
I have an interjection regarding the whole vomiting story. So I
hmm
can't remember where I read it. Maybe I should find the source.
hmm
Um, but what I read is that one of the reasons that it got that designation of vomitoria. Um, so having drank it myself and you have, it doesn't make you nauseous, right? Yapon Holly in of
no,
itself is not does
no,
not
yeah,
induce vomiting.
right.
So I don't know. I mean, may not be related at all. I don't know. Like in the story you told, we should find a source for that to see. Like, I think it was a different. There's obviously something different that made them vomit. Okay, so that's where it's from, right?
Yeah.
But it is probably they
So,
consumed something at the same time along with it, or did they just consume it in such high amounts that it made them sick?
I believe that they consumed it, and this could happen with any, like, if you got a bunch of oak leaves and so they would literally take like huge amounts of this because these are so the Native Americans on the Atlantic coast, Atlantic seaboard, they would they would actually trade in this, and they were the ones that sort of controlled the trade of Yapon Holly. We're talking about Ilex vomitoria now. I did hear that it was sort of a derogatory term that they were calling it vomitoria, whoever, whatever, some European guy named it. Um,
Yeah,
Not
what I
sure
had
the full.
read was that King George at the time was very invested in getting Asian tea popular,
Yeah,
and Elex was more popular here because it was native to here at the time,
right.
and so he had a botanist give it that Latin name to kind of what's the term I'm looking for, like bad advert
Uh,
publicity for it, or
yeah,
besmirch its good name.
yeah. I heard the same exact thing. Don't have a specific source for that, but I heard the exact same thing. Um, so I think, my point was going to be that if you boiled down like a bunch of leaves and you drank it, they would boil it down into like a black syrup. Like we can think about ayahuasca is boiled down into such a thick syrup, and all these waxes and lipids and different compounds from the plants can definitely make you vomit. But me and Matt have both drank it as a regular old tea. So you take you strip some leaves off the Yapon holly and you put them in a dry pan, completely dry, no oil or anything. You rinse them off and you stir them around and brush them around as they're cooking and they toast and turn brown. And then you get some boiling water, put them in a cup, dump some boiling water over it, and it makes an amazing, fantastic tea. It tastes almost exactly like black tea. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if you put two cups in front of me, one was black tea and one was Yapon Holly prepared in the proper way that I just talked about. I'm not sure I could tell the difference. Maybe I
Yeah.
could, but
Maybe in
they're
the
very
feeling.
close.
But maybe you could tell. I don't know that I've drank teas before, but I can't say I ever noticed anything from it. Same with coffee. I notice coffee if I drink too much, it makes me kind of jittery and I feel off. But
Hmm.
the Yapon Holly made me feel it was noticeable and pleasant is the best way I can describe it. Like I could tell it was taking effect, but it wasn't. Uh, it's hard to describe, but you could tell, and it was a very
Yep.
pleasant, kind of even mood. I felt that it instilled in me.
I find it is so Yapon Holly. So we'll talk about this real quick. So there are the only caffeine containing plants in the Americas are in the Ilex genus. There, as far as I'm aware, if anybody else knows, please tell me. But as far as I'm aware, the only caffeine containing plants in the Americas are in the Ilex genus, and the three main ones are Ilex vomitoria that we're discussing now, Ilex gayusa, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the most famous one, which is Ilex paraguarensis. I find it stronger than tea, but not like with caffeine, energy, jittery if you drink too much. Stronger than tea, but not quite as strong as coffee. So
Perhaps
yeah,
now is a good time to ask. Other than caffeine, what is the principal compound of at least Ilex vomitoria, if not the others? Do you know, Scott?
that is a great question, and I do not know off the top of my head.
Oh, I will tell you then. I shall inform you. It is
Yeah, all right, excellent.
theobromine. It is
Yep.
theobromine, which is the principal compound in cacao.
Oh, it contains theobromine as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool, man. Um, and I'm sure it contains some trace compounds as well. Here's a little picture. I don't know if people will be able to see this or if
It's
Matt
it's
can see it.
very there we go. The camera's adjusted.
There you
Yeah.
go. Um, so these are, the early European explorers encountered this plant all the time. And as a matter of fact, this is Ilex vomitoria we're specifically speaking about in North America, the eastern seaboard area. Um, for these Native Americans in this area, it was more important than tobacco, which is really saying something. Obviously in North America and South America, but it was more important for them than tobacco. And the archaeological evidence we have, this is a fantastic book. It is out of print. I bought it probably 10 or 15 years ago for like 30 or 40 bucks, but when I've looked recently, it's more like 50 to $100. But what a fantastic book. Um, Everything you could ever want to know about Ilex vomitoria, aka Yapon Holly. Um, yeah, so super fascinating plant. Kind of lost to history, even though it's an amazing plant.
More for us. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so yeah, so this is sort of our notes version of this podcast. We may just go ahead and publish it because I don't know. So far, I think it sounds pretty good so far. But Matt, do you have any other before we get into I'd like to maybe talk about Ilex paraguayensis and Ilex gayusa, the two other sort of most important holly species in the world. Before we get into Matt's story and what he did recently, maybe we'll circle back around to that. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, a couple things before we go any
Mhm.
further. That may help if you do want to publish this. It does seem like your auto adjust features on the camera. It kind of fucks with. Oh, sorry, can't curse. God damn
Yeah,
it.
no, you can cuss. Go ahead.
It kind of
What?
messes with the your camera is like trying to automatically center on you, and so sometimes it kind of gets
Yeah,
out of focus. So that's a feature if you can um, let's see. I can't quite see where it's doing it right now. I don't know if you can tell.
no, I
Uh,
can't. But we can edit this out. Yeah. So what do I? Can I? What
like I
do I
remember when I
do?
started the video, it asked me like, "Do you want the auto focus?" Okay, so on the bottom left hand corner, the video icon, you click on the up
Yep.
arrow, and there's
Yep.
a option that says auto frame my video. T-
Yeah.
Click that, and if
Take
it's checked, turn it off.
turn it off. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that should help. The other thing, so I mean, the only thing I can
Wait, are we
contribute.
going back? Because I'm gonna edit that part out. Are we
Sure.
going back to the
Yeah, yes, yes. You
roll?
cutting?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, roll. All right.
Okay. So, as far as anything I could contribute, you know about this a lot more than me. You just sent me on a little excursion when I was in Chiapas, Mexico, to try and find it. And but it got me interested in. For me, the most interesting about this plant is its presence in Chiapas because its largest range is from I think about where you are in North Carolina down through Texas, a couple little
Mhm.
adjunct populations around it in the States. But
Yep.
then, you go any further west than Texas, nothing. Down through the Gulf of Mexico, nothing, but you arrive in Chiapas, which is a state that borders Guatemala. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, bada bing, bada boom, there's a population there. So my interest was figuring out and speculating how that could be. And there were two interesting things I kind of discovered or kind of uh, was looking
Ascertained.
into while researching it. And one was when I asked other people about it, I was like, "How do you figure it got there?" The most common answer was birds,
Yeah.
and I looked into that. And when I say look into, I should add a big asterisk. Typically, I was using some kind of large language model, one that's publicly available, typically Claude or something like that,
Hmm.
to look into it. So I did not give it, a very, I don't know if that would qualify as like research grade, research, but for whatever it's
Sure.
worth, I did a little preliminary looking into it. And
Right.
apparently that there are birds that consume um, the Ilex vomitoria in the stateside and have migrations down into different areas of Latin America. The
Mhm.
problem with that particular hypothesis is that you would expect, therefore, for one, the birds would have to not crap between its range
Yeah. Yeah.
states
Yeah.
and down in Mexico at any point. They'd have to hold it in that whole way, which seems unlikely. And the other problem is that the birds that do eat it in the states and have migratory routes to Latin America are in areas other than Chiapas. So if it was
Yeah.
birds bringing it, you'd expect them to leave the plants droppings beyond
Well,
just Chiapas.
yeah. Why wouldn't it be? So what Matt's talking about is you have on the eastern Atlantic coast. There's Yapon holly everywhere, all the way down through Florida and over to Texas, and then there is nothing. And then suddenly in Chiapas, Mexico, there's Yapon holly there. And it's like it's a mystery. It's a big mystery. And yeah, if birds were transporting it, why wouldn't it be kind of everywhere
Yeah,
around?
why wouldn't it
Why
be,
wouldn't there be?
in Cuba or the islands in between or in
Yeah.
Guatemala or just more east and west of Chiapas.
Yep.
So what we have verifiably researched is that the only that I've seen. And I looked, it was like a Harvard, I think, botanical database I looked into, among other sources. But
Hmm.
it seems that the only locations where it has been found in Chiapas is just on the in and around the outskirts of San Cristobal, the city of San Cristobal, which
Hmm.
the geography of Chiapas, it has a lowland, very jungly area where lots of Mayan ruins still are. So the Maya had a strong presence there. And then San Cristobal, it's one of the higher elevation areas in all of Mexico. So it kind of goes from jungly to a very temperate rainforest environment as you
Right.
get up in altitude, a lot cooler. And all of the that I have seen, all of the samples collected have been just in areas in that high montane, cooler area. I did take a
Right.
trip to um, the area where the Mayan ruin of Palenque is,
Hmm.
and I did a tour with a gentleman who, uh, a couple gentlemen that by their own estimation were very knowledgeable about local plants. Did this really neat jungle tour in the surrounding jungles around
Hmm.
Palenque. And I gave them a photo and a description, and granted, it wasn't very good because I think the internet wasn't very good. I couldn't get a high resolution photo, but they didn't seem to recognize it by images or the description. Um,
Right.
so it doesn't seem like it is able to take. It doesn't seem like it has a range in the lowland jungle area, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah,
Um,
which to me would make sense because I mean it is a temperate or subtropical plant. Like I mean it grows in North Carolina, South Carolina, a little bit in Virginia, Georgia. So it does experience like pretty significant freezes, especially in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, occasionally. So it would make sense that it would be happier up in the higher elevations of those areas. But yeah, I find it really fascinating. So as Matt said, like, okay, the birds could have brought it there potentially, but why wouldn't there be a connection sort of throughout or in other places? So my
right.
to sort of jump to the conclusion of the conversation, perhaps, and we're talking about Yapon Holly Ilex vomitoria again. It was so culturally significant to the natives of North America. You know, my thought would be that there was some connection between North America, North American natives and Central American natives, and that they learned about this awesome plant, and they transported it there, and that's why
and
it's
and
isolated.
and that's another line of investigation I did, again, asterisk, with an AI model, and a couple
Hmm.
asterisks to this one. I didn't realize when I was asking the question. Some of these AI models are strange. There's some services that host multiple ones, and I was
Yeah.
using one, and I assumed it could be connected to the internet while it was giving me answers, but apparently I had to like toggle that option. And at that particular time I was getting this information, it didn't have that option toggled. But I put it to one of these models and I was like, hey, what is the most likely explanation, I guess, for how it arrived there, if not a direct connection between the Mayan or indigenous peoples of the Yucatan Peninsula there
Hmm.
and the indigenous of North America, or the eastern seaboard of North America.
Yeah.
And the explanation it gave me was, well, it would be a trading network along, the Gulf Coast, right, from its range down to the Gulf Coast down to where it is presently. But
Hmm.
the problem I had with that explanation was that, again, if that's the case, why don't you see any evidence, maybe their present populations, or as to the best of my knowledge, there haven't been any archaeological finds of evidence of that plant, between its range in North America and where it is presently in Chiapas. So
Right.
it either had enough significance and value and use to the to indigenous populations via a land network. Kind of, I'm thinking like along, from the what's now northern Texas down along the Gulf and into
Mhm.
Chiapas, to where they would have wanted it to have they would have traded it and it would have changed hands between multiple peoples, and then arrived finally in Chiapas. Or there was a direct route between Chiapas, the peoples of what is now modern day Chiapas,
Right.
and the indigenous of the eastern seaboard of North America. Um, but yeah, we don't find, to the best of my knowledge, any evidence of the plant occurring in any archaeological record or any present day
No,
populations in any
don't.
other places of Mexico.
Yeah, don't think so.
Um,
No, it's only in that one. There's like two little populations, like two little. If you look at the map, you guys can look up online. Ilex Vomitoria, map of distribution. Um, there's like two little spots, and that's it. And they're this disjunct population. However, so there is a. I think it's in North America, like in Ohio or something like that. Not sure. Have to look up my facts on that. But there is direct evidence that during the sort of the Trail of Tears, that some of the natives actually we have clear evidence that they took Yapon holly seeds because it's so important to them. They took it out with them out west when they were made by the European colonists or whatever you want to call them. So they actually took some with them, and that's one of the disjunct populations in the U.S. But yeah, the one in Chiapas is quite a mystery.
Yeah, so that's something I'd be interested in getting some, because it was an interesting line of inquiry. What I actually did is I pit two AI models against each other to debate it, and one
Hmm.
was kind of arguing that it must be from a land-based trade route coming
Hmm.
down across Mexico, and the other I,
Right.
I tried to get to like punch holes in the first AI's argument, and it kind of
Yeah.
loses the thread a little. But I'd be interested to I can send you that document even, and you can
Yeah,
see kind
please.
of the lines um, of reasoning that it was using. And it's interesting because there was an extensive trade network between certain peoples in what is now the U.S. and that far down south in Mexico. One of the more
Yeah.
remarkable ones that we know about for sure is they have found the bones of tropical parrots from the Yucatan Peninsula, I believe,
Hmm.
and in large numbers in the city of what is called Pueblo Bonito, which is one of the Puebloan people's settlements, the largest Puebloan settlement we know of
Yeah.
in New Mexico. So that's a pretty
Yeah.
extensive, it's a live animal, if nothing else, that
Right.
was very valuable to the people, and what's New Mexico is a very arid desert, so there was
So yeah,
certainly
there's
very, very large and interconnected trade networks between what we would consider disparate and separate cultures at the time.
exactly. Yeah, especially before the disruption that European contact brought. So Matt, I'm going to ask you in a minute about your specific experience in Mexico and how you found this and went about that because it's a great story. But first, if you can pull up, do you have the document I sent you?
I do. It should be on hand. Where are you? There we
So
go. I'm looking at it right now.
yeah, as you're looking at that, so again, me and Matt, we're sort of just doing this as a this is supposed to be our notes version of the podcast, although it seems to be going very well. I've wanted to write an article, and me and Matt are going to try to publish an article at some point about the Ilex genus, the sacred hollies, as you could call them. We got Ilex aquifolium. This is sort of the European holly, and it's amazing how important that hollies, that the Ilex genus is in the whole world. So when you think about like Christmas, you think about red and green, right? So Ilex aquifolium, the European holly, is one of the few things in the dead of winter that has nice bright green leaves and red berries. So that's and there's much more we could go into about that, but I got a list of about 30 plants here, so I'm gonna go through them quickly. Um, let's see. I'm gonna drop down to Ilex glabra, which so many of these have been used as sort of as a tea when mostly when the tea runs out. But the next really, really interesting one on the list in alphabetical order is Ilex guayusa or gayusa. Matt, do you know much or anything about Ilex gayusa?
I do not, other than what you shared in the document, which I'm trying to track it down right now. There we go. Yeah, so no, nothing.
So,
Is that
so
the
it's known as
go on.
so so it's known as the night watchman's herb. That's sort of the translation in English. Um, it comes from the eastern, I'm sorry, the western Amazon. And it is the highest caffeine containing plant in the world. Nothing contains more caffeine per pound, per ounce, whatever, than Ilex guayusa. Um, Extremely high caffeine content. They add it sometimes to ayahuasca, which I find very interesting. Like traditionally, for many hundreds of years at least. So that's fascinating. Moving on though. Ilex Ku Ding Cha. This is a very mysterious one. Um, I believe it's been called. I remember it could be called nail tea because they would dry it or steam it and twist it into things that sort of look like nails, like a nail you hammer in something. Does not contain caffeine as far as I'm aware. Was used in China and Asia and tastes almost exactly like black tea, as much of the Ilex genus does. So that's an interesting one. Not going to go over all of them today, but Ilex opaca is the American holly. Um, During the Civil War, there were times the American Civil War in the mid 1800s, 1860s. There were times when people obviously used Yapon holly as a substitute for coffee because they needed their caffeine fix. But they also, if they couldn't get Yapon holly, they would use Ilex opaca, which is fascinating, but it does not contain caffeine. Um, the next one down the list, and we won't go through all of them today, but the next one down the list is Ilex paragarensis, which is yerba mate, which I think we'll save that one for a later time because that could be a whole podcast about the gauchos. I mean, it's become popular in the West or in the larger world.
Well, it's still
Um,
popular in Argentina and some other places, I think,
Oh,
right? That's
it's extremely popular, and it's popular here and in the U.S. and in Peru. And yeah, you got any thoughts about yerba mate, about Ilex
no, I've never
paragrensis?
tried it. Again, the only
No,
I associate it with Argentina. That's I kind of
yeah,
know it's their yerba mate is their
totally.
national drink. Never having been, but that's about all I know about their culture.
So it's super super interesting, stimulating plant. It's if you will the coca leaf of Patagonia and the bottom part of South America. But yeah, we could do a whole podcast about that, about the biloba and the little gourd they use, and there's a whole huge culture surrounding. You'll see Argentinians in the streets in Cusco as well, drinking out of the gourd with the little spoon thing. It's like a spoon with a filter on it. Uh, Very cool plant. We're almost down the list. Um, some of them I need to do some more research on before I start talking about it on a podcast, but there's one called Ilex terrapotina. So the holly from Terapoto, and there is almost nothing known about this. I spent about a year in Terapoto, so when this came up on my radar, I was super excited about it. But there's very little known about it. I think it's a very rare plant, but it's something I'd really love to find. So they sort of just call it tea or mate. Like it doesn't, it's like, yeah, you're like, what is this plant? They're like, tea. You're like, yeah, but no, they're like, it's tea. I'm like, all right. They don't, there's not much information about it, but I'd really love to know more about it. So maybe that's a future expedition. Um, as I scroll through my notes here, um, I will ask Senior Matsito to so Matt, sort of tell me what happened, in Chiapas. Like I was asking you about going to find this plant, and you went out a couple of times and sort of couldn't find anything, and then, what happened
Yeah,
when you were
yeah.
down there?
So as you said, once you during one of my kind of meandering travels, I just happened to make my way to the city of San Cristobal in Chiapas, Mexico, to escape the mosquitoes in Guatemala, where I was previously. And you were like, dude, you got to find a plant for me. And you told me about it, and I looked into it, Ilex vomitoria. Um, and